C'est un peu long, donc je vais juste le chiffre.
Before we start, and we are going to start within a few minutes only. Please bear with us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Atish and I shall be the moderator for this session. Now, this topic today is about bringing Mauritius sugars to new heights. In fact, to help me explore further on this topic, I am accompanied by two eminent personalities. Number one, Mr. Devesh Dukira, who is currently the CEO of the Mauritius Sugar Syndicate, accompanied by a second one, Mr. Sébastien Giraud, who is the Chief Marketing Officer. Now, to the audience, I'd like to invite you, if you have any questions and queries, would you be mindful enough to write down your questions in the chat box? I can assure you we're going to come back to you at the end of this session. In the meantime, gentlemen, welcome to today's webinar.
Thank you, Atish.
Good afternoon, Atish. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to those joining us from Europe and from the US. Dear partners, dear colleagues, thank you for your participation in this webinar and for your trust in Mauritius Sugars.
Oh, fantastic. So, Devesh, you tell about Mauritius Sugar Syndicate. Can you please elaborate or tell us a few words about that?
In fact, the Mauritius Sugar Syndicate is a 100-year-old organization. Last year, we celebrated our century. And it is the commercial arm of the sugar industry. It is itself a producer-driven organization, regrouping all sugar producers in Mauritius, planters, corporate growers, and the millers. And the objective of the Mauritius Sugar Syndicate is to bring the highest value of sugar, what is being produced from the cane, and hence we develop marketing strategies collectively together with all the producers or their representatives. So the idea is to sell the sugar as the marketing arm of the industry, and then redistribute that revenue after deduction of common expenses back to the producers. The Sugar Syndicate is itself a non-profit organization.
Okay, wow, that's really a lot about it. But today our topic is indeed bringing Mauritius sugars to new heights. So, can you please tell us, like, sugar and Mauritius, how are they deeply connected?
Well, in fact, Mauritius, the history of Mauritius is closely associated with cane. Let us not forget Mauritius itself. It was an uninhabited island some time back. The first settlers came in 4 centuries ago. They were the Dutch. They introduced the cane from Java at that time, principally to produce larak for drinking purposes. But then the Dutch went and the French came, followed by the British. But each one of them continued cultivation of cane, but gradually it was a shift from alcoholic purposes more to production of sugar that Mauritius has been producing for 4 centuries now almost for export market, and more recently mostly for export back to Europe, where those other countries which had colonized Mauritius at that time.
Okay.
And maybe I should add that it also, when we're talking about the history of Mauritius, we're also talking about peuplement, settlement. Many people, as I said, there's no indigenous people in Mauritius, but then you have these people, the settlers who came. Then they brought in people to work in the sugarcane fields. So we had slaves coming from Africa, and subsequently indentured laborers from India. So all that today, people from these different origins, which comprise together that multiracial aspect being given to Mauritius. So as you see, it's all, when we talk about the history of Mauritius, the settlement, it's all closely associated with the cane. And so when we come to the more recent period, maybe more on the trading terms, the fact that we have been, before we became independent from the British, so our sugars are being exported to UK in particular. So after independence, they remained our main market, and we were at that time privileged by the Commonwealth Sugar Agreement, whereby our sugars were being admitted preferential access in the UK market. And when the UK joined the EU in 1975, I believe, so that preferential access was replicated across the EU. And so for over 3 now, 3 decades, sorry, that the EU has been the traditional market for Mauritius sugars.
What I do understand as well is that the EU also produces sugar, yes or no?
Indeed.
Yeah. So, but then sugar is also produced around the world, right? But then how is Mauritius sugar so different?
You're right, Atish. Well, when you look at the world production of sugar, we're talking 180 million tons of sugar. EU alone would be producing roughly between 16 and 17 million tons. You're right. The EU produces beet sugar, which is basically from beet sugar you would produce white sugar. What we can also produce from cane, but you need to refine the sugar. And we do produce the refined sugar. As I said, we've been doing that. We've been exporting to Europe. We are still exporting to Europe. But the problem with white sugar, well, it's not a problem, but this is the way it is. It is a commodity. So the white sugar you have in Mauritius, you have from Brazil, you have from the Middle East, wherever, it's just a white refined sugar. And so we are more price takers, whatever, because our production of white sugar currently is around 200,000 tons, which is nothing when we compare with millions of tons of production, whereby we are subject to the volatility of a market. And very often, unfortunately, world sugar price worldwide is distorted. And very often we find ourselves having to sell the white sugar at a price which is below the cost of production, not only in Mauritius, but below the average world cost of production. But whereby for Mauritius, and this is the topic today, where we demarcate ourselves is really the special sugars. And when I'm talking special sugars, we'll come later, I'll explain more about it. These are unrefined sugar for direct consumption, but are meant at niche market segments. So we are not talking big volumes, niche segments in wherever country we are present. And according to the ISO, the International Sugar Organization, the total consumption of the specialty sugars I'm referring to would represent a little under 300,000 tons, which is not a lot compared to 180 million tons of consumption worldwide. And Mauritius, we are probably the largest producer of that sugar. Well, certainly we are a reference for that type of sugar, and probably in most of the markets we are present, we are the market leaders. Allow me, Atish, maybe just a brief history before we come back to our plan, what we are doing now. Sure. These special sugars were introduced in Mauritius in 1977. Actually, at that time, one buyer in the UK by the name of Billington, and I should say big thank you to the Billington team. I'm sure they are present here on this webinar, and we are still working with them, and they are still one of our privileged partners. So they came to Mauritius with a proposal to have a certain variety of the unrefined cane sugar to be produced, and for their own market, so that was done successfully. And the following year, in 1978 to be more precise, the first export of Demerara sugar started. Demerara and the golden granulated varieties, and there we started with a new adventure and a bright path, I would say, a very successful path along special sugars.
Up till now, right? So, and we hope this continues even further ahead. Of course, we've just talked about commodity, unrefined sugar, and then now we're here today in Mauritius with special sugars. Can you tell us more about that?
The special sugars are, in fact, you should produce them only from cane, to my knowledge. So they are unrefined cane sugars, but which are minimally processed. So have to be natural. And when I say natural, so that means it should contain no additive. This is our definition of special sugar, and I believe this is widely accepted. And the good thing about it is when it's minimally processed, it would preserve the natural goodness of a cane juice. Sugarcane is very rich in molasses, and being rich, when you are preserving these molasses, so you have that flavor of a molasses, but so the aroma, but also minerals. The cane itself, from the soil, it would derive certain minerals like potassium, like magnesium, iron. So these are preserved in that sugar. So basically the nutritional value that we will elaborate later on. So they are targeted at niche market segments wherever we are selling these sugars, especially targeted at, firstly, people who are looking for a natural aroma. So it can be for everyday use in our coffee, in our cereal, or even in industrial purpose, for certain patisserie or something very fine products. Or the second category of segment is the health conscious consumers. As I said, the fact that they are natural, people increasingly want products which are wholesome, they know contains no additive. So consequently, they attract a price premium compared to the normal sugar, which will be white refined sugar, which is just a sweetener. And I should say at that time, in the 1970s, when that idea came, my predecessor at that time, the late Mr. Polo Eno, he saw, well, he's venerated as a father of special sugars in Mauritius. I think he saw an opportunity at that time that this is a way Mauritius, which is not a big producer when we compare ourselves with large producers like Thailand, Brazil, or India, or even Europe. So it's a way to really bring value to every ton of sugar that we are producing. Mm-hmm. So we embarked into that route already at that time. And from that, we started supplying to the UK with our partner Billington. But from there on, we started developing new market avenues elsewhere in Europe and even beyond, whereby gradually we have been trying to match the market demand in each and different market, because you will appreciate the culture, the taste would be different in the Middle East compared to Europe, for instance, or even in Europe. You have Eastern Europe, Western Europe, or the Mediterranean, but then you have different tastes. Mm-hmm. So developing these different varieties, and equally, we're talking about, we try to be innovative in Mauritius among the different producers of these sugars. So the idea is to try to be very customer oriented, meeting the specific needs of these different customer segment and industrial usage as well. So when it started, after around 20 years, we had reached around 60,000 tons of sugar. So in 2008, 2009, around 60,000 tons of sugar were being produced, spread over a dozen varieties. And at that time, most of the export was still earmarked for the European market. I should say that we had a constraint, maybe if I can call it this way. At that time, we had certain commitments under the sugar protocol, whereby we had a long-term agreement for the supply of raw sugar to be refined in Europe. So because of that agreement, which was good, I'm not saying it was a bad thing, because it did provide us with some guaranteed market access, but then we couldn't expand further. So we were contained within these 60,000 tons of sugars at that time.
Mm. Talking about this sugar protocol back in 2009, I do understand there was a sort of dismantlement around there, right?
Yes.
And was the Mauritius sugar industry at stake in those days?
Indeed, I should say that sugar protocol, as I mentioned earlier, Atish, we had the Commonwealth Sugar Agreement, then became the sugar protocol. It provided Mauritius, as we had 16 countries from the ACP, African, Caribbean, Pacific, which had such privileged access to Europe. So it provided guaranteed prices and fixed quantities. So basically, it was a very comfortable market environment. And and the price in Europe at that time, it would be sometime, depending on how the world market price was evolving, 2 to even 3 times higher. So it was a very comfortable zone. And because Europeans had to review the sugar regime because they were challenged at the WTO level, obviously that had to be reviewed. And indeed, in 2009, that sugar protocol came to an end. And it was really a crossroad. It was quite a shock, but obviously we were prepared for that because we did give some prior notice. And we did realize at that time we were producing 500,000 tons of sugar. If we remained with raw sugar for refining, for the bulk of our export, it wouldn't have been viable. Because Mauritius, we don't have that economies of scale. 500,000 tons when you compare with Europe, 16 million tons, or with Brazil, we're talking more than 40 million tons. It's a drop in the ocean. And we knew that know-how we are built on the special sugars already at that time, more than 3 decades of production expertise that we had built up. So we took the challenge, say that, okay, we have this know-how, let's go for it and let's put a target, we'll double the capacity of special sugars. Obviously, we need to find the market. And as I said, they are targeted at niche market segments. So you can't just go and wherever you're present, you just continue dumping in, between commas, the special sugar. It's just going to destroy value. Mm-hmm. So we managed to do that, and by expanding the market base. So we put a target to reach 120,000 tons. We started exploring other market avenues in Europe as well, going to other countries within Europe. We are talking 26, 27 member states now. And also outside Europe, talking Eastern Europe, Middle East, the US, Asia, etc. And we reached that target within the next 2 years, by 2011. And again, it was comforted. We were comforted to know that the demand was there, even though we had not been consistently present outside Europe, but we did manage to reach that quite quickly. So to say that, I think that reputation, the good reputation of Mauritius special sugars, went beyond the European frontier. Maybe just a word to mention, because as I said, at that time we were producing 500,000 tons. Obviously, we reached 120,000 tons, but then the balance of the production was as white refined sugar, as I mentioned earlier, the white refined sugar, which is equivalent to what is being produced in Europe. And indeed, because at that time, the sugar regime in Europe provided like a reserve space for ACP countries like Mauritius. And we, through a partnership with, we worked very well together, a company called Südzucker, based in Germany. So we managed to position even the white refined sugar across different parts of the European continent. So from there on, we became known also as a supplier of the white refined sugar.
Mm-hmm. So what I do understand as well, Devesh, is that we started back then as a drop in the ocean, and then we almost, like, let us say, doubled it even further. Should we assume that Mauritius is in a suitable position to move forward and grow?
Indeed, we are quite comforted by the feedback we obtain from the market. Well, I will allow Sebastian to talk about it later, but maybe just to give you a glimpse, firstly with its market presence. Secondly, with that range of sugars that we have, and I think this is widely recognized, Mauritius is probably the only producer of this type of sugar with such a wide range. I mentioned 12 varieties around 10 years ago. We had 15 a couple of years back, and this year we are developing a few new varieties, whereby we should be having a panoply of 18 different varieties, categorized in 3 main families. You have the natural classics, the authentic classics, and the wholesome gems, because according to the specifications and what the different usage that will be mostly be geared for. And I should say that each of these variety, it didn't just happen overnight, obviously. It took time. Again, we are talking about 4 decades of expertise, of innovation, of craftsmanship. I would call it craftsmanship because it's a savoir-faire. You have to be able to meet these specific customer needs, and you're talking about different cultures, different taste, different way of living when we are looking at all these different countries we are present. And based on the survey that we conducted recently, we have pleasantly noted that these sugars are rated highly on choice, quality, and consistency. So today we have the sugars already present in 55 countries worldwide, and we remain the market leader in a number of these countries. But unfortunately, I should say, Atish, we are being challenged. Competition, let's admit it, it's fair. I think it's good to have competition. For the consumer, we're also consumers. But unfortunately, what we notice sometimes, it is an unfair competition. As I said, it has taken us many years to develop these sugars. And I think where we have reached today, it's due to the contribution of people of different generations as well. 4 decades, we're talking different people who have been involved in the production of these sugars. But today, when we find in front of us, we have ordinary raw sugars. We have white refined sugar from cane being colored, sometimes even beet sugar, coloring the beet sugar to call it special sugars. And these are being offered as alternate to the special sugars from Mauritius. And it's a bit, as we say in French, pincement au cœur, because I believe these sugars, they deserve much more than that. And I think with our experience, we have managed to build that market position. Now, when you see that being eroded, it's not nice. Right? And whereby we have realized that we have to do something about it. We are pretty convinced from our past experience that the demand for these type of sugars is there. And I think it can only grow because people get more and more convinced about the health benefits, about the different attributes of these special sugars. So the demand should increase. But then we need to know what really is a special sugar. Hence the purpose of this seminar, of this webinar. And the reason why we are here today is to present, this is what we have been working over the last number of months now. We have come up with a new label for the Mauritius sugar, really to distinguish these Mauritius sugars, especially the special sugars, from what we find elsewhere. And the idea is, first of all, to defend our market position, obviously with the help of our buyers, our different partners in the different markets, and also to grow further. Maybe let's just allow me to mention, Atish, if when we're talking further market diversification, obviously not neglecting where we are already present, because we believe there is demand for these high quality sugars, but we're also looking at new greenfields markets as well. Well, thanks to government, there are 2 new free trade agreements that Mauritius has signed, firstly with China, secondly with India, which are in force as from this year. And these agreements have special provisions for special sugars from Mauritius to have privileged access into these markets. And we believe that both of these countries, they have a growing market, especially among the more affluent population, with increasing purchasing power, and the trend as well. Just maybe between parentheses, I mentioned the case of China, where traditionally people have been drinking jasmine tea, Chinese tea. But when you look at the number of coffee shops in China, which have been mushrooming over the last decade, so you just realize coffee means you need sugar to sweeten your coffee. So the demand is there. So we are quite convinced there is demand, but we just need that right accompaniment with the right partners to meet our objectives.
To meet your objectives, yeah. Thank you. I mean, wow. Started by 10 varieties, added 6 more. Today we are 18 varieties, now present in 55 countries. Sebastian, I'm actually turning to you because being the the Chief Marketing Officer. So would you mind tell us why should a buyer, a consumer, actually choose or prefer the Mauritius special sugars, because we're quite unique in that area. So what would you say about that?
Thanks, Atish. First of all, factually, it's all about the know-how and the savoir-faire. Just imagine 400 years ago, the first sugar cane has been grown up in Mauritius. More than 40 years ago, the local millers developed the first special sugar. Thankful and grateful to, at that time, that we've been accompanied by Billingtons, bringing their expertise. And in a nutshell, the industry milestone in Mauritius has been the entrepreneurship, the continuous improvement, but as well the implementation of best practices. And what I mean by best practices, the first one is that the culture of Mauritius cane field are 100% non-GMO. What I mean by non-GMO is basically that there is no genetically modified sugarcane, and in other words, not derived from or contaminated by transgenic cane. And the same apply for any components to help the sugarcane grow. These also are GMO derivatives, free from that. Last but not least, the pest control we apply in the sugarcane are also biologically sound. The second one, and thankful also for the decision makers of the industry to have taken this route, is the green harvesting. Green harvesting means healthy crop. And in Mauritius, the preferred option we have taken was the green harvesting as compared to burning the cane prior to the crop. Because a point, if you allow me to look at this fact, the sucrose in burnt cane deteriorate twice as fast as the green cane. What does it mean? It basically, the cane quality you have will provide the quality of the sugar you get down the road. And in many countries, and not say most of the countries, cane burning is one of the practice. And here, worth underscoring the associated risk, especially for cane cutters, because you still have some ashes remaining in the air. And here again, some surveys have shown that one of the aggravating factor for a condition such as the chronic kidney disease is linked to that cause. So I'm quite proud today to say that, yeah, the Mauritius sector has been built in preventing and protecting the health of the cane sugar planters. The third one, Atish, is the natural cane ripening. From the irrigation system in place or the harvesting practices, the cane ripen naturally in our field, and at the cost that there's really with no recourse of any kind of artificial chemicals for the ripening. And how come I not thanks the Mother Nature for giving us such a beautiful tropical climate with great volcanic soil, all contributing to having a great cane sugar, sugar cane, and obviously a cane sugar. Above all, and what is important to note about that, Atish, is that all what I just mentioned, the non-GMO, the green harvesting, the natural cane ripening, and of course the benefits of the natural soil we have, it did contribute to produce cane stalks with appropriate juice composition, because as Devesh said earlier, special sugar is about being produced from 100% cane sugar, and this is how they are natural. So in 3 words, guys, sourcing from Mauritius provide a level of quality, a reliability of supply, and of course a true worthiness of expertise.
Can I just to add, Atish, substantial what Sebastian just mentioned. As I said earlier, we have a unique range, 18 varieties, and sometimes maybe people who are not in the sugar business, they won't realize how come sugar is sugar. How can you have so many varieties, you know? And we're talking all natural sugars, with different varieties. And now what we have noted, obviously, as I said, we are facing competition, but we note that for certain varieties, they're really unique. No one, to our knowledge, has been able to replicate it. For instance, I mentioned the Muscovado sugar, which is a dark color, quite moist sugar. And it has not been replicated. I know I've seen sugar being produced from white sugar reblended, but it's not the natural state. So they can look the same, but they don't taste the same, or they don't have that flavor. Likewise, we have an unrefined coffee crystals, large grain. Likewise, you can find large grain sugar, but produced from white sugar. It's a question of crystallizing, recrystallizing, but not the natural state, what we have seen. So we have certain varieties which are really unique and quite difficult to replicate. Again, thanks to, as Sebastian just mentioned, all this savoir-faire over the last so many
4
years.
decades.
4 decades.
Yeah, that's quite a long time. I do understand. Thank you, Devesh. I do understand, Sebastian, that we're talking about really the pillars, of this industry, especially our special sugars. So, would you like to say more about this 6 core pillars that we were talking about?
Sure, Atish. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. First of all, from our own expertise, but mainly also from the multiple feedback we have received from our customers present globally, the Mauritius sugar is really anchored in 6 pillars, in which we believe that they are different and special. The first one, if we can mention it, is the naturalness about our product, our specialty sugars. The secondly is about the great taste with the international recognition about it. The third one, as Devesh mentioned, is the mineral content of our sugar, making it healthy with healthy elements. The fourth one and the fifth one are quite linked. I'm talking about here traceability and sustainability. Last but not least, we are here also it's a human business, relationship business. So we really need to be easy and convenient to work with. And this is really a journey towards what we want to excel.
Definitely, and that's definitely a place where we want to excel. So Sebastian, why don't we go one by one, if you're okay with it, just to highlight a bit for the benefit of our viewers and audience here, each one by one, the 6 core pillars. I mean, for example, naturally wholesome. What would you say more about that?
Sure. So about the naturalness, Atish, first and foremost, it's a result of being an unrefined sugar. First of all, the second point is that our sugar is exclusively produced from cane juice. What does it mean? That these properties, these 2 points I just mentioned, it keeps the natural vitamins and minerals that is with the sugar, within the sugar. And how do we make it? How this naturalness come from? Let's say if you take from the cane juice extraction up to the different phase of crystallization of the sugar, we clearly do not use no coloring, no additive of any kind, or no flavoring.
Yeah.
And last but not least, production processes we use as well, such as the boiling system or the sieving processes, guaranteed that the uniformity of the crystal and the uniformity of the color. And trust me, I've been talking with a number of customers, being on the retail market, whenever you got an end user coming to buy the same product, you better have your product
Uniform quality,
uniform and consistent.
Yeah, definitely. So that was about the naturalness of the sugar itself.
Exactly.
You did also mention the second pillar about the taste.
Sure. When we say taste, it's true. It's a wide word. Pardon me, but within this word of specialty sugars, it's about the flavor and aroma. And allow me here just to give you a little anecdote. When I just joined the Syndicate a year ago, I went to my induction within a sugarcane factory. So I was coming straight within the crop, getting into the factory, hearing the noise, seeing the cane being crushed and so on. And then we came up to the tasting exercise. And I was saying to the factory manager, saying, it smells good here. He told me, Sebastian, it's not about a smell, it's about an aroma.
Wow.
And I must say, Atish, I can just confirm and second this statement for sure. That was an amazing experience and lesson, by the way.
Yeah.
And I must say also that we should thank our partner, you guys, our customers, because you have contributed, pardon me, to give a worldwide recognition to our unique taste. And here I'm talking about Billington, for example, who participated to famous food tasting competition called the Green Taste Awards. And 2 of our sugars, namely the dark muscovado and the light muscovado, have won 1 star and 2 stars. And the beauty of this competition, that it consisted of a panel of 144 foodie experts with obviously most discerning palates, from chefs to food critics, but also restaurateur, buyers, and retailers. And it was a blind testing, which just simply given those two Mauritius sugar as being the most exquisite tasting one. So if you consider, for example, as a reference, but also we refer to a market research done by the Food and Health Survey, 61% of the consumers nowadays says that healthfulness does have an impact in their food purchase. 81% are saying that the taste has the greatest impact on their purchase. So I'm happy that, I mean, these international awards, but also the great work done by our customers on the field, it's just really a stamp of excellence by consumers, and it helps also to influence the purchases of end users. So concretely speaking, if we can look here, a survey, the result on the screen, the result, it really shows that this panel of professionals have defined the Mauritius specialty sugar as the best quality available for 65% of them. They can taste the difference through the Bedlington brands. Big applause to them for making a difference as compared to the competition. So I think the all speak by itself.
Figures speak by itself, yes.
Let me just add, if I can just substantiate. Indeed, when we're talking about it's all about the aroma, the taste. And again, I put a lot of emphasis but natural taste with no added flavoring. And indeed, Sebastian mentioned, and I know a number of chefs with the help of our different buyers, including Billington, even in France, different countries where we are present. So we have approached renowned chefs to try the Mauritius sugars, and I can say that these chefs have been recommending in various recipes the usage of certain particular varieties of our sugars. And even among certain master chefs in the UK, those who won this competition, they all came up with certain recipes using Mauritius sugar. And even at industrial level, you have the world famous Varona chocolate, that they are using one of our variety, the dark Muscovado sugar, in a couple of their products. And it's really nice to see that co-branding. They proudly put in there dark Muscovado sugar from Mauritius. So really it's comforting to know that it is well appreciated at all levels, consumers, industrial users, at all levels.
Wow. Now I am actually at a point in time where I'm thinking we are really promoting sugar here, bringing Mauritius sugar to new heights. This is our topic. Now, in the world, we say that, hey, you know what, sugar is like directly proportional to diabetes, obesity, you know, all those health factors. What is your take about that?
Well, let's not forget that. Yes, you're right. There is perception, but nothing has been proven scientifically that sugar is responsible for obesity or even diabetes. But obviously, like any product, you cannot consumption has to be limited. You know, excess consumption of anything, it's not only sugar, of starch, of any product, excess consumption, you can have health problem. So if it's taken within reasonable amount, and let's not forget that sugar, in fact, as a carbohydrate, it is an essential intake in our daily lives. We have our activities, we move around, we need energy. Sugar is energy, right? We need that. And but what, again, as I said, we need that for our daily lives, avoiding excess consumption. And I just want, sorry, just coming back to this sort of allegation people tend to have on sugar. But what has not been proven is what is the real cause of obesity. It's easy to say sugar, but then what about when we talk about excess of fatty foods, excess of junk foods? Our lifestyle as we live it today, do we have sufficient physical exercise? We all do. When we were kids playing around, we used to run around, but you don't see that anymore now. People now tend to be more behind their computer, play store, play games, etc. So I think it's not really sugar, and I think we need to demarcate from that.
Okay, yeah.
But saying that, I think I will, maybe Sebastian, you can elaborate more when we're talking about healthy. Let's say compared to the other types of sugars, what demarcates our special sugars?
I mean, the simple reason for making this third pillar as being the health side of the sugar is based on the mineral contents. And the point is not just saying it, but to get it provenly tested. So we contracted a comparative test analysis done by Premier Lab in the UK, which basically what we've done is the aim was to assess the mineral content present in specialty sugars. We've taken 4 of them: the molasses, the dark muscovado, light muscovado, and the dark standard demerara. And as you can see on your screen, not only that the sugar was gluten-free and allergen-free, but as compared to the daily reference, there's 4 minerals present: calcium, iron, potassium, and magnesium. When we compare the content of the specialty sugars as compared to the white sugar, the molasses is 10 to 12 times higher. What about the dark muscovado being 7 to 6 times higher? So for me, these are concrete results. And in addition to that, we also tested, I mean, for those who are technically at ease, that those 4 sugars also have a high concentration of polyphenols. In other words, that they are naturally antioxidant. And earlier we was talking about the innovation and the entrepreneurship of the Mauritius sugar industry, and research and innovation for one of our partner came up to the development of a specific sugar, which is the low GI, targeted to diabetics specifically, but also the antioxidant one. And both, again, has been supported by the approbation and the accreditation, namely of first the Oxford Brookes University from the UK, and secondly the Glycemic Foundation in Australia. And according to me, I strongly believe that our customers should and would be keen to promote these features, tested and proven, in the sense that nowadays, as far as retail market is concerned, we are seeing an emergence and a growth of the health food sector. So I think today we got at least the ingredients to help them get into it, penetrate into this segment market.
Definitely, we're talking about polyphenols, antioxidants, all these foods. But I think as well about traceability, you did mention about that. So,
sure, Atish. I mean, who would buy something that you don't trust? We buy something that we can trust.
So how are we like traceable? You know, how can we?
So the traceability is referred first to the ingredient list, which is on the product, mentioning also about the nutritional values. But as far as traceability is concerned for us, both as Mauritius Sugar Syndicate level or through our product, is about the transparency with our customers. And what I mean by transparency is really through our production process flow on one side. Secondly, is about the production batch code on our export bags, which help us to track back the life cycle of the product throughout the production process. Last but not least, the certificate of analysis. And of course, all with the aim to meet the food standard requirements. And of course, I'm thinking also about all those working at the mill level, about all the rigorous quality standard they implemented. First, to be safe in terms of contamination prevention, with strict control on foreign body removal. Also, the food safety management system they invest into, which is actually recognized by the global food safety initiatives. And as well, and it's something that we value along the supply chain, is the international accreditation we have on one side with regard to production processes, but as well applicable to finished products.
Finished products. So here we've just mentioned about the traceability, you know, the ability to trace from back to end, you know, back end to front end. That is something really nice, because you see, Devesh, we also talk about sustainability here, because I think they're quite like linked. Tell us more.
Yeah, Indeed, actually, if the previous screen, you will see the different labels that we have. Some of them refer to sustainability, being recognized as sustainable. As you say, Mauritius, volcanic island, we are not such an industrial country. Things are done in a sustainable manner, we can say, but it's good that it is proven so. So you need these certificates. I mean, already you will see on that list, well, already Sebastian mentioned about the food safety management. We have a BLC. We have a certain, for very specific market needs, you need the certification, for instance, the halal certificate, the kosher certificate that we have been having for many years now. Now, when we talk about sustainability, what you see on the screen, Bon Sucro, we have been Bon Sucro, well, not long time back, since last year, Vive, Smeta, Fair Trade. Let me start with fair trade. What is fair trade? It is a program whereby the buyer, the consumer, is willing to pay an additional price, like a contribution, which is going to benefit the farmer in a developing country. Right? Mauritius, we embarked on that program in 2008, and whereby I remember there were 4 or 5 cooperatives involved at that time, and we have been growing so that at some point of time we reached 35,000 tons of fair trade production. Maybe just to be more specific, when they produce the fair trade sugar, these are cooperatives which are fair trade certified, they would be earning an additional premium of $60, which is set by Fair Trade International, $60 per ton of sugar, but they're going to use to improve their living conditions, their working conditions. And we have realized in Mauritius that really there was an engouement, there was an interest in people getting embarking into that program, because really that additional premium, especially as I mentioned earlier, but things have been quite difficult with a distorted world market price after the sugar protocol. So that represented something, an additional revenue that was helping them to make ends meet or to subsidize their fertilizers, whatever the reason, but it's always added support. And at some point of time, almost 50% of the total planters in Mauritius were certified fair trade. I should say, unfortunately, a few of these cooperatives became decertified at some point of time. And what we have decided at the level of MSS, we have ourselves registered as a cooperative recently. And the plan is to embark into that certification. Hopefully, we should obtain that quite soon, and then get back on track to the level that we were a few years back. I should also say the good thing, we have managed to sell, since we became fair trade certified, almost 100% of our production, and which again comforts us that there is a trust in the Mauritius sugar. It's also, you have a certificate obviously, but there is also that trust that beyond the certificate you're perceived as being sustainable. Well, saying that, if you allow me to just elaborate a bit further, Atish, you know, the cane scores very high on the ecological front as well. The beauty of the cane is that nothing is wasted. You know, it has, first of all, it is one of the most efficient converter of solar energy into biomass, and that bagasse being used, being one of the co-products of the cane, is used for cogeneration. We've been doing that in Mauritius for many years now. Right now, we are producing something like 350 gigawatt hour of electricity from bagasse, which represents around 15% of electricity production in Mauritius, which is exported to the grid, while government has a target to reach 30% by 2030. So already, you know, bagasse already represents half of that renewable energy. And there is also other valuable co-products, molasses, which is being used. In the old days, we used to export that, but then we have realized why not add the value locally. We have a potable alcohol, and we have certain rum from Mauritius, which are world renowned. We have obtained certain nice price worldwide. And otherwise, the balance of our production is into ethanol, industrial ethanol mostly. Otherwise, you have other products like organic fertilizers. As you can see on the screen, it's a circular business. And so basically, whatever you produce, whatever we consider byproduct, but it is an important ingredient into something else. Even the wastewater from the mills and the refinery is used for irrigation of fields. So even that is not wasted. And in terms of carbon footprint, let me say a word on that as well. We had a survey undertaken last year with a sponsorship of Fair Trade International. That survey was done by the German-based Soil and More Impacts. And we found that the net water footprint, firstly, just to go back, water footprint is 63 liters per kilo of sugar, which compares well with what is a normal practice. But as regards to the carbon footprint itself, from farm to port in Mauritius, it is estimated at 0.36 kilo of carbon dioxide per kilo sugar. But when we take into consideration the renewable electricity being produced from bagasse, this turned out to be a negative figure. So it is minus 0.36 kilo carbon dioxide per kilo of sugar.
Yeah.
So you see, but we're not talking only in Mauritius, we're talking worldwide, a contribution trying to relieve that carbon footprint.
Carbon footprint, definitely. Now that was a lot about sustainability, definitely. I think it's like nothing is being wasted at the end of the day. Okay.
Indeed.
But yeah, hey, Sebastian, you know what? We shouldn't miss this sixth pillar as well, about easy and convenient to deal with, right? So can you tell us more about that?
I mean, if I can give a straightforward definition for being easy and convenient to deal with, is to simply give a peace of mind to our customers. With trust, confidence, and giving them this peace of mind of doing business with us. The first starting point for me, Atish, is with the 18 varieties of specialty sugars we have, also with unrefined white sugar, the refined white sugar we have, we are really like a one-stop shop, a little rock in the island where the buyers could source from us the entire range of available sugar. The second point, I mean, when I look at a bit the historical relationship with the long-term relationship we have with our customers, they have been faithful to us, and it has really been transparent relationship. And here I must thank also the support provided by, if I can name, Patrick Busset from a technical expertise, Kamraj from a logistics side, or Chetanan from a compliance side. And all these, I mean, one of our richness is our people, their knowledge and expertise, and this is something important because this then gives the service to the customers. And also a special thought also for the customer service team, and all related to the booking and documentation team and so on, and of course the accounting team. But today we provide with the customer with one point of contact, which is the CSO, and for the order management to give them their peace of mind. And for me, I mean, since I joined the syndicate, what was important is that as a team we understand the business of our customers and that we feel it. And it's something really I want to strengthen. And the way to do it has been the setting up of routine meeting between our team and the procurement team in the logistic management of our orders. And at least they know when something is in our hand, we'll be looking at it carefully and professionally. And last but not least, I come from a background where passion for customer satisfaction is in your DNA. And this is something where gradually I'm putting the team to this tempo, to this temperature, where we started last year actually by measuring our customer satisfaction through a specific questionnaire across specific variables. And it was important to get their feedback, because this is how we can get better, we can improve continuously, and this is our values, continuous improvement. So
yeah,
yes.
Wow, what a culture, passion behind what you do in terms of your customer satisfaction, definitely. I mean, those were the 6 core pillars, right, Devesh? Would you?
Yeah. So Atish, of course, this has been done after a lot of surveys, feedback from our customers, and we should thank you, ladies and gentlemen, our dear partners, for all your contribution. So what we have reached today. So with 6 core pillars now, this can be transcribed into the new label for Mauritius Sugar, and this is what we are proud to present to you today. You will see through this presentation, through this video, but I should say that obviously this is one stage we have reached, but the work doesn't finish here. Now we need your help, your assistance, and we are sure that with your support we will be able to undoubtedly strengthen the identity. This is what we want. Strengthen the identity of our special sugars in the different markets where we're present. So, ladies and gentlemen, Atish, if you don't mind, we can just have a view of the video and discover the Mauritius label.
Our journey begins into a rich, fertile and unique terroir, blessed by nature, where sugarcane thrives, where men and women work with pride. It is the story of a rare savoir-faire, handed down through generations and crystallized in a legacy of expertise and excellence. The story of a special sugar, delicate and delicious, the very taste of Mauritius, nestled in sumptuous crystals. The sugars of Mauritius.
You know, it was an important exercise to really come up with a Mauritius label. I'm not talking about a logo, it's really a label, because it's really illustrate Atish the savoir-faire. We talk about the terroir, but as well as the naturalness and the condition and environment where the cane is grown in Mauritius. So we strongly believe in these 5 pillars, 6 pillars. Of course, I repeat, the naturally wholesome, the taste, the health, the traceability, and the sustainability, which for me would provide our customers with a marketing edge for their brands, pardon me, and therefore offering a unique package. And this uniqueness is also and must be valued by the one buying their brands. And this is where we want to get all these aligned, not only to look at the brands of our customers, but also to look at the end user needs and expectation. And for these reasons, we have developed a number of marketing tools to communicate and help them to communicate these pillars to the end users through their brands. So if you allow me, I would like to present you a snapshot of the different support. Live, as well as our Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn account. So from a bank of images, of photos, of videos and shoots, testimonies, storytelling, we are here for you guys to really build up this legacy with you and help you to make a difference on the market through your brands.
Wow, those are like amazing marketing tools for the buyers and, of course, at the end of the day, for the consumers as well to enjoy. Divish, what do you have to say about that?
Well, first of all, I should thank our buyers who are present today. And, you know, without your support, obviously, we are not reached here. And we thank you again for all the feedback you have provided and the guidance also you have provided to us to know really where we have our edge compared to others, and how to really position that Mauritius sugar, how to reinforce that identity. I should also thank the OXO team, which has been working very hard to help us develop that, and our colleagues at MSS as well, our colleagues, our board members, the producers in Mauritius, our industrial partners. Now I think we have reached a stage, well, this is, as I said, we have reached a stepping stone, but now we need to leap further. Now we need to make it happen. And again, this is where we need really your cooperation, your support, so that we can meet our sales objective as you have described earlier. Our objective is obviously to develop further this proximity, to be closer with our buyers, with yourself, for a better sharing of information on your brand values, on your market needs, and how we can adapt from our point of view, how we can adapt to grow sales in your respective markets, but while preserving value, as we have described earlier. There is a value in these sugars, but are not to be commoditized. That obviously includes new product development. We mentioned earlier that 3 new varieties are going to be launched this campaign, new formats going more eco-friendly, paper packaging, for instance, and then the production of organic sugar, on which we have already embarked onto this project, but obviously it takes a few years before we can become certified, which is planned by 2023. And last but not least, we plan also to set up a customers club, an MSS customers club, to forge our relations with our privileged buyers. But we are still working on that, and we will be providing you more information in due course. Okay. Just before completing, as an African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Go together. Wow. That's the concept of Ubuntu, definitely. Yeah, that's wow, amazing. Am I understanding as well that we are going to have new 3 varieties? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow, that's amazing. So I think it's question answer time. If we can have some questions from the audience. I think so far our team is saying we have no questions. But anyway, if we have any questions so far, you can still send it to us. And I'm sure the Mauritius Sugar Syndicate team will definitely get back to the audience as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have almost reached the ending part of bringing Mauritius sugars to new heights. Indeed, 18 new varieties, 3 new being added up, all these certifications, 55 global reach countries, amazing people sitting in front of me, both the CEO and the CMO together. Probably, gentlemen, if you would like to say on an ending note, a few words.
Well, thank you, Atish. Thank you for conducting this. And thank you again, as I said, to the OXO team, to our own colleagues, to the producers, to all our partners who trust Mauritius Sugar. And I think we have a long way to go. And we really rely on your support to do that, so that we can clearly be very successful in our endeavors. Thank you very much. Thank you again. Thanks for your participation.
Right.
So on one side, I obviously would like to thank the local stakeholders, which has made this journey possible throughout these 400 years and 40 years. But ultimately and obviously, a big thank you to you all, our customers, trusted partners, long ones, loyal ones. During the last year, I've been get to know you well through regular VC call until we meet up and have a drink together. So really, let's build up this new campaign successfully. And we are here to serve you and exceed your expectations. So really, we are most keen to receive your feedback, help us to learn and grow, and you deserve simply the best.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, Devesh. We hope to meet you very soon as well. Well, to all our audience who's been viewing, thank you for staying with us. And that was really bringing Mauritius Sugars to new heights. Again, do not forget, if you have any questions, you can get back to us and we're going to get back to you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.